Hi guys, 4Tutor here. Today we are going to be talking about polynomials. So what does the term polynomial mean? Poly, first let's divide it into poly and nomial. Nomial is just a fancy word for term, and then poly is many. So like polygon, polyhedron, all that jazz. So there are many different types of polynomials, but first let me get to one thing out of the way. When people think of polynomials, they usually think of some really long function with x, like 5x to the fifth power plus like 100x to the fourth power, yeah, and all that. No. Anything which has more than one term is a polynomial. However, polynomials have some weird requirements in that their exponent cannot be a variable or less than 0. Otherwise, you'll have like a weird fraction. Like, yeah, it's not worth it, honestly. Because you can't do thing like x to the negative 1. Then you're going to have a rational function. Also, the constants need to be real numbers. We talked about imaginary numbers last time. Um, yeah, they need to be real numbers. You can't put, say, ix to the second power, stuff like that. You can't do that. Not with polynomials. If you want to make it an imaginary number, yeah, sure, go ahead. However, if you want to make it a polynomial, no, I wouldn't do that if I were you. So there are many different, again, these are the requirements. The fact that firstly, the exponents cannot be less than 0 or a variable, and that the constants or the coefficients, must be real numbers. I'm going to be using some vocabulary in my polynomial series, such as leading coefficient and degree. Leading coefficient is essentially the coefficient of the term with the highest degree, which means degree means highest exponent, by the way. So if you have an equation x squared plus 2x plus 1, the degree would be 2. If it's x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 1, then the degree would be 3. And the leading coefficient of both of them would be 1 because the coefficient of the x squared and x cubed term would be 1. Yeah, so that's some vocabulary got out of the way. There are many ways you can solve polynomials, such as rational zeros, which is basically trial and error. You just get factors of the constant term divided by factors of the leading coefficient. Yeah, but I'm not going to go over that yet. As well as the fact, and there's also, if you're given one root, you can solve for the polynomial by dividing. And there's factoring, so you can factor it out, like using grouping or just factoring out the monomial. So there are many ways for you to actually for you to actually solve polynomials. Polynomials work just like quadratics or linear equations, so that you can add them, you can subtract them, you can multiply, you can divide. Division is a little more complicated. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, what else is there about polynomials that I want to talk about? Oh, wait. How about the fact that there is a famous way, not really famous, there are actually two different ways to divide polynomials. If you know regular division, how regular division works, you take like a number, you divide it by the divisor, you bring down the next number, all that jazz. Same thing with polynomials, except you basically have to go through every single term. As well as there's another type of division called synthetic division. This only works if you're dividing it by a linear equation by in the form x minus k. It just doesn't work otherwise. So then it's really complicated. You need to like create like basically an elongated L and put all the coefficients and all that. Not going to talk about that. I hope this video was informative about polynomials. In my next video, I will probably be covering things such as rational functions, radical functions, stuff like that. And thank you for listening. Bye bye.